welcome back to another episode of Ask Cheshire TV. I'm Mark Nelson, Executive Director here at Cheshire TV, and I am joined this week by our oldest employee. Now, I'm not casting any aspersions upon the person's age. I'm saying the employee who has been here the longest, Mr. Rick Blood, and I thank you for being here, sir, and taking time out of your day because I said, hey, you want to come back in the studio after we taped another show and do this for 20 minutes? This is something I've been wanting to do for a long time, is to sit down with you and Dave and staff and people and just get your story. You know, how long have you been involved with Cheshire TV? Dates don't have to be accurate. And in general, let people at home and folks who come in and out of here and maybe only know you as the guy who pushes a camera across the counter, you know, what the deal is. So how did you begin here at our glorious Cheshire TV?
Well, I guess it starts before I began, because it starts one evening when I was sitting at home and I was flipping the channels, as I'm prone to do. And as I went across Channel 8, back in the old days, there was Nate Sell Video with a sign that said, if you could see me, call this number. And it was Cheshire TV. It was the first time they were broadcasting. Shortly after that, I started, somebody had talked me into doing the Keen comic that the AIDS Society did for a benefit way back. And I did that, and when I showed up to perform, Cheshire TV, Lee and a small crew, I think mostly his daughters, were there filming the event. And of course, I had to walk right by the little control setup that they had, and I was amazed. And I said, you know, I want to do this. When MTV first came on the air, when they used to have music on it.
When the M stood for music.
M stood for music.
Yeah, I remember
and
that.
They had the concerts.
Right.
I think the Friday night midnight concerts. I fell in love with, you know, the camera guy that was doing the close-up work, getting the shots behind the drummer, all that, you know, on stage, wearing the all black, so nobody can see him.
And eventually you were able to do that exact thing.
Yes, I was.
With some of the live music events we've taped over the years.
We did all the music fests. That was my dream, doing the handheld camera, getting the close-up work there. So it was 2006, I got involved, and at the same time I was volunteering, Lee talked me into starting a TV show. So I started the first incarnation of Unfiltered back in 2006. Gathered a crew of my friends. And this was, I had one of my buddies and his wife, and over the 4 years we did Unfiltered, I think I had 4 or 5 people that came and went that we utilized as cameramen. And it was our weekly friend get-together. And we'd come here and we'd set up, or usually I'd set it up, and then they'd all come after work, and we'd shoot the show, and then we'd all go back to my friend Bruce's house, who was the director, and we'd watch the episode and critique it.
Very important.
We thought it was, you know, paramount.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised the number of producers that we have that have never even seen their show.
You see these little things that you don't realize you do. I know my problems from doing shows by watching it back, and you're like, ooh, I don't realize when I talk that I do that. I should consciously stop doing that.
Right.
Or I realized that when I'm looking into the camera, I need to keep my chin up, otherwise you just see a reflection of the lights in my glasses. These little tiny things you would never think about unless you watch the thing back. So it's really good that you did that.
Right, and we learned as we went along. The first episode was the cameras and me. And actually, the show was, because didn't really have a voice back then, and I knew I wanted to do something that wasn't just a waste of time. And my idea was to interview high school kids on up-to-date, modern, current event issues and see what their thoughts were. Because I figured they might speak their mind. Yeah, not so much. It evolved, became just me ranting. After 4 years, that ended. After 2 years, I got hired by Cheshire TV. And that was volunteering for almost everything that Lee needed done. and coming down here and hanging out during the day, just in case anybody needed help, or just to be involved and to be a part of it. And while the camera stuff, the technical stuff, the actual production work is important, I also liked, once I got hired, I liked the broadcasting end of it as well. You know, because a lot of people think that we just make TV here, but somebody has to take it from where the wires end in the control room and get it onto the TVs that the public see.
At some point, we should shoot a little featurette so people can see how that works, because we have a system that records everything as an MPEG-2 file and a DVD as a backup. That needs to get prepared and goes into a system where it gets scheduled so that it plays, so that when you're seeing this on TV, somebody has put that in there physically every time. It's a process, and you need to know how to do it. And you were the guy for the longest time. You were the guy who did it, and then it was given to me for a long time. Then I got too busy. Now it's yours again. So
part of it's mine. We're sharing. We kind of share that aspect right now. And the guide. When people hit the guide on their channel and it comes up, I believe I'm the one that actually physically puts that into the system that controls that. And sometimes it bugs me because I'll go home and I'll turn on the guide and it's not right, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on. And I don't know. Third-party services are involved, and we don't want to pass blame anywhere.
It's right most of the time.
There was, one thing that Lee always used to say about TV is, if you miss that moment, it's gone. DVRs make that a little different now, but but generally, in making TV, the type of TV we make. If you miss that, and again, I started with live shows when all these shows out of the studio were live. City council meetings, all of the majority of our meetings that we do live, we run into this as the technical people. My biggest worry is that, that system is going to click over at 7 o'clock, and that meeting is going to be live whether the mayor's ready or not. And if the mayor's, drinking his water or picking his ear or something, people at home are going to see that.
And I always say, too, with the live meetings, it's very important that they go out live. For us, it's important that they go out live, but also any mistakes, any major flaws with the broadcast generally are only ever going to be seen that one time live, unless it's something inherent in how it's recorded. A lot of times our broadcast may be a little fuzzy, or the sound may be a little off or something in the live broadcast, but the recording is solid. So I always say the permanent record is going to be fine. If somebody is, practicing their harmonica when it switches over at 7, we can trim that off. It's only which is the advantage to watching it live.
And now,
see the weird stuff.
Don't get us wrong. There is no editing that's done. This. What happens when I get these meetings? We record the meetings while we're doing them. I get them back to the studio. I trim the front of it.
You trim the fat off it, basically. Before the gavel and after the gavel.
I take it right up to where the gavel starts, and then I back it to where the gavel ends, and that's the meeting. If there are any periods of recess, I will generally take out that piece, and it'll dip to black and come right back. So people at home don't have to sit for another 5 or 10 minute recess.
So I always think in my mind the perfect version of the meeting is the meeting that gets rebroadcast, because it has the lower third that identifies what the meeting is. It's, the signal that goes out live is slightly different than the signal that gets recorded to our recording devices. That's where if there's some visual or audio problems, those don't usually get recorded. That's usually some weird freaky thing in the cable system.
There are less steps in the recording than there are in the live broadcast.
So let us, or Rutabaga, talk about the live city meetings and all the city meetings. You are on the scene for pretty much, you and Dave Kirkpatrick, our other full-time staffer, are the two guys who are there for all of these live meetings. You cover all of the Keene School Board committee meetings that are recorded at the SAU 29 building in Keene. And you are there for City Hall for all of the city council meetings and some of the committee meetings. So what is involved with recording those? What do the folks at home not know about how those get done?
Well, let's see. Every meeting has to be set up, of course. Generally, I'm the person who will set up all of the city meetings in City Hall.
And that's the physical desks and the microphones and
Well,
things like that.
the desks are all set up.
Okay.
The microphones are on the desks with the cables coiled on top of the desks. So I basically show up, I run out the 2 snakes, I plug in all the microphones, and that's about it. Takes 20 minutes to a half an hour. The reason that I do it is because I either will do it on my way into the office in the morning, or I'll pop out quick mid-morning and just go over, set it up, and come back. And then I don't think there's really...
We don't have physical camera people at those meetings.
No, those are all robotic cameras.
And these are cameras that are mounted in the ceiling, almost like surveillance cameras in a way.
They are surveillance cameras.
That cover the entire room from various angles. So what is it that you and Dave do in that little closet that you work out?
Actually, the City Hall control room is
fairly spacious.
It's kind of spacious compared to the SAU closet.
It is a closet.
There are 2 switchers, because when on Wednesday evenings they have 2 meetings that run sometimes overlapping. So it's basically all the cameras can be configured, and the 2 systems can be configured to work as one system, which we use for city council meetings and the planning meetings on Monday nights. In that case, during council meetings, generally there are 2 of us in the control room. Dave is the director. He actually picks the shots and works the video switchers. I'll act as cameraman and work the control boxes for the robotic cameras, set up the shots, tweak the shots, dial them in so that Dave can take them. Committee meetings, there's just one of us. And like I said, the system basically splits in half. So one half of City Council chambers has 4 cameras, the other half of the room has 4 cameras, and each one is separate. So in that case, you take your own shots and switch yourself.
And that's the same case at the SAU building.
SAU is just a single...
It's a large conference room with a robotic system built into it.
Yeah. And it's SAU has 3 cameras, which the more cameras you have, the better, because better angles, more options for shots. SAU is weird. There's the camera, the way that they sit themselves, there's some fairly steep angles that aren't the most flattering angles, but it's coverage. So
it is a visual record of the meeting.
Yes.
So you also are our primary person. You are the primary person to talk to. If somebody walks in and wants to do a show at Cheshire TV, they don't need to be approved. They need to be a member. That's it. And we don't care what your idea is. Not to be rude. We're here to make it happen.
I kind of care because it matters.
Well, I mean,
in certain aspects.
When I say we don't care, you don't have to explain your concept to us and get approval.
Yeah, no.
You need to explain your concept so we know how to shoot it, basically.
Right.
So somebody walks in, they come up to the counter, you're literally right around the corner from that, and you are the guy that guides them through this entire process of making a show.
Yes.
Right. Yes. And that's all we're going to say about that. No.
And I like to think of it as I help them develop their ideas into a show.
You tell them what they need to know to make it happen, what resources we have to offer, what they can bring to the table. Wait, no, I'm interviewing you. This is not working right.
I do all that.
Right. So what is, if somebody comes in and wants to do a show, what are the steps they go through with you to go from their idea to them sitting here once a week?
Well, first thing is, generally people feel inclined to tell us what they want to do for a show.
And that's cool.
I'm interested. But basically what I want to get is a feel of the attitude of the show and maybe a theme, for the simple fact that I will create. And it used to be we would have them come in and sit down and look through music or listen through music and look through
which can
thousands and thousands of pieces of background video. Yeah. I've kind of simplified that because I talk with people enough to kind of get a gist of the type of show that they want, the premise of the show, the idea of their show. For instance, one of the recent shows is Bible for Today. Mm-hmm. Herbert came in, and he said he wanted a show, and we talked about titles, and he said it's a Bible study show, but he didn't want the titles to reflect, an in-your-face Bible-y look, and when I went through the graphics, I was looking at, there are the crosses on the hill, which seemed to me a little too Bible-y, the praying hands, all that kind of stuff, the actual Bible, crown of thorns, and I kind of pushed all that away, and I found simple, like Roman columns that you kind of moving, and then put some snappy titles in. He loved it. He thought it was perfect because, come to find out, he's a Seventh-day Advent, and one of the things that is important in Seventh-day Adventist religion is they talk about the pillars.
Oh, interesting.
And I didn't know that.
Happy accident.
Happy accident, and and again, it's taxing on me because after helping so many people, the creative juices sometimes just don't flow.
It's nice when they, excuse me, it's nice when they give you an idea. It's like, I'm thinking of this kind of vibe and this kind of music and this kind of graphics, and you know what we have to work with.
Right.
And you can do it a lot faster than, one of the worst things if you're an editor is to have somebody sit next to you. If you're being paid by the hour, that's fantastic. Otherwise, it's just there are so many options. It's so much easier to give somebody something and they say yes, no, or tweak it a little, and then you can go and do that, and you're so much farther ahead of the game. Right. So once you do that, you work with them to figure out what the studio is going to look like, right?
We used to. Right. And again, because there have been so many, and I've designed almost every set that you've ever seen on Cheshire TV, and the fact that we have, we only have so many set pieces and we recycle them, we try to figure out new ways to use them. Generally, a show will start like this. Simple. Black drape, some colors, because, again, I hate to sound rash, but
battle-worn.
We don't have the time to put, 2 or 3 hours into designing a set for somebody to come in and do 2 shows and be done. So we start out with black drape, and it evolves. It's the way that public access is supposed to be. Your first show is not supposed to be very good. You're amateurs. Every week, if you watch your show, you pay attention, you critique yourself, you look at it and say, this is what we can do better, this is what we've got nailed, the show gets better and better and better. Mm. And that's where my experience comes from, is because I've gone through the process basically by myself and my crew, and we learned as we went along.
And now let's mention the other shows that you've done, because you've done like 3 or 4 total.
I've done a lot.
You currently have still airing Nautical by Nature.
Nautical by Nature is still airing, and there'll be some new episodes of that. Unfiltered is on hiatus. It will be coming back, I'm sure, at some point. I just, for some reason, that's like my firstborn, Can't just throw it away. I did a season of a show called Asphalt Ribbons, which was kind of a cross between Unfiltered and Nautical by Nature, where I had a GoPro in my car and a camera in my car. So that was a kind of original idea.
It was kind of brilliant, because you found a way to make a show out of you driving to do another show.
Places where I was going, yeah.
You were going to do, a lot of times, weren't you driving to do a Nautical by Nature? So you just shot your trip and you're like, hey, I got 2 shows out of it.
Yep.
It's smart.
Yeah.
And then you did one here for a while, literally in the control room.
The control booth, that was kind of the second incarnation of Unfiltered, but it was by myself, and it was called Talk and Awe. Mm-hmm. But it was basically the same thing as Unfiltered. And again, that was one that I did literally by myself, no crew, didn't need anybody in the booth. Of course, I was in the booth.
Right.
The Unfiltered that I was currently doing is a by myself Then there was Nautical by Nature. I was the co-host with Randy and helped him develop Keen on Keen. I've been co-host on various shows because I'm close.
I was going to say, because people know you're here. That's something that we've found here over the years. If people have shows that are dependent upon having guests, and their guests cancel or they don't have a guest, they would often come up to the window and go, any of you guys want to be on my show? I'll never say no. And it's like, oh, sure. What do you want me to talk about for a half hour?
Yeah.
So are there any things that you would like members or members of the public to know about how we work or things we offer or anything that, because we've both been doing this for a long time, and there are so many people who walk in fresh and they have no idea that we exist or no idea certain aspects of this place.
And that makes me mad.
It's disappointing, or it's such a well-kept secret, unfortunately. Are there any things that we still have 7 big minutes to talk about?
Yeah. Yeah, one thing is just do it. I mean, and, Lee set the bar pretty high, which I wasn't sure was a good idea, because if somebody sits home and they see, Luca's culinary journey and says, man, I want a show and I want it to look just like that, it's going to take you a while.
First open a restaurant in town. Yeah.
While we strive for nice, pretty, perfect video, the fact is it doesn't matter.
Well, it should look good. But then
it
again,
should look good to you.
That's true. We don't get involved in content.
We don't get involved in content, and
we'll be here to help if you want it to be better.
As we just wrapped up shooting an episode of Cinemaniacs, and you were talking about action movies these days, and I mean these are action movies that are still raking in millions and horribly shot.
Don't let wrong set your standard.
But make it as good as you can make it.
Well, that's what we're about. We're about what you want.
Don't ever feel that, this isn't good enough.
No.
Because anything is good enough. That's my point.
Absolutely.
Anything is good enough. Anything that you film and you bring to us is good enough.
Absolutely.
We love it. And to me, I'm a simpler is better guy. I'm a set the tripod up at the ocean and turn on the camera and sit back for half an hour and then turn off the camera and it's a show. You can do that anywhere. If you're sitting at the lake, you can do that. If you're sitting next to a river, you can do that. If you're sitting in your house, you can point a camera at your feet and shoot them. And we'll air it.
And, this is like the prettiest way to have a show. If you want to get on the air and talk about something.
Yes.
But there's no reason, if you want, you can't check out a camera and a microphone and a tripod and set it up anywhere, like you say, and speak your piece. You can do it somewhere that's got, trees in the background or snow right now, unfortunately, or whatever. You don't need to use the studio to do a show. It's just your surroundings are far better controlled if you do it in the studio, but you don't have to.
That's
There's
one
no
of the
rule.
biggest things. And again, if you like documentaries, if you're interested in making a documentary, but you think, oh, geez, that's so much work to edit a documentary and put it all together, I'll give you a quick, easy cheat for that. A life hack, if you will. Go out, shoot your footage, you bring it in here, you sit in the studio while we run the footage through our system, and you describe what's going on in the video that people are watching.
Yeah, you can incorporate exterior footage, yeah.
It's like doing a live show, but you've brought your own clips, you're explaining what the clips are, and we switch it for you, and when you're done, you walk out of the studio, you've got a show.
Yeah, I mean...
And it's just that easy.
We won't do everything for you, but we're here to help. So many people who do shows, it's them by themselves. So we set up a studio, they walk in, they speak their piece, and we run, or Nick runs the board in there.
Right, and that's the biggest thing when my crew finally got tired after 4 years of every single week. That's why Unfiltered ended, was because I didn't have anybody to sit in the booth and push the button. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's just that. You need somebody to push the button. We'll be that person that pushes the button for you. We'll push your buttons all day long.
We're button pushers. So,
but no, I will do whatever is humanly possible to help anybody make their own show. You know, I don't want to do all the work. I mean, we talk about going out and finding people to do TV shows, and it seems like the more we do that, the only thing we're getting for ourselves is more work. Well. And the point is to get other people involved and to get, you know, them to take on some of that themselves.
Well, we're supposed to be a resource, educational, right. and you know, helping to get you there. But
right.
it's not always possible for us to do. Well, it shouldn't be us doing the majority of the work. On occasions, we'll do a production for an organization or something. But it's really, we're here to help you to help yourself.
Right. Exactly.
And we have 2 minutes left. So
all right.
I thank you. The organization thanks you.
You're very welcome.
And the members all the time thank you. They do. Even last week somebody did. So I want to give folks at home, I'll get back to you in a second, the contact info if you'd like to write and literally make the show name mean something, Ask Cheshire TV. We are, if you want to send us a letter, it's Cheshire TV, P.O. Box 903, Keene, New Hampshire, 03431. We are on Facebook at Facebook.com/Cheshire-TV. We are emailable at askctv@CheshireTV.org, and you can give us a ring at 603-283-6621. Did I forget anything?
No, I think that's all the graphics we got.
We're next door to the Keene Public Library. Keep trying every door until you find one that opens, and that's the one that works. So I thank you very much once again.
You're welcome.
And I thank you for watching, and we will see you on TV.